Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where we talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Blacklist. Another great episode. Half this episode dealt with the blacklister known as the Cook, which his whole, even like I gotta admit, in a twisted sense, his whole get up with this whole like how he sets the fires and everything is very intricate, just like dropping it in multiple places, the accelerant to kind of make the fire burn, fast and hard essentially. So it was just kind of interesting, his whole like dropping the jars like that, like, and like start fire and spread it. But a super interesting blacklister in the sense of like his understanding of why he does what he does, because it's like, arsonists usually aren't murderers, they just typically burn stuff down, but it's like this guy goes out of his way to also kill people too. So it's like, what's up with that? I was like in my head, I was like, okay, obviously he's like a hired gun, someone's hiring him to make these look like arson events, like just regular like maybe accidents or just just some burning, like there's something more to it. Later on we end up finding out there is, because basically he's a part of this religious group, essentially, this kind of like religious belief. And basically it's super messed up, but psychologically speaking, all these different people he's killing, in particular he's killing all these women, because in his twisted mind he's thinking like, all these women, they're temptresses. Like there's that nurse lady, Karen. Reason why he tried to kill her a while back was because she offered to pay for his food, because it's like, oh, he took food and gave it to someone else, and she was like, oh, that's so kind, and she wanted to pay it for, and because of that the guy tried to kill her. It's like, what happened to Claire confessed to him, kind of touched on him and kissed him on the cheek about the whole situation. It's like, oh, she's trying to tempt me, she's got to die. It's like, wow, like his mind is so deluded, like there's so many delusions there, because in his mind it's like he always struggled with the fact that, oh, I had these visions and these dreams of these women, because apparently he kind of acted upon it too, hence why he kind of lost his position as a priest and everything. But basically it seems like it was like it's a combination of, because they're demonic temptresses, but also a lot of self-hate, because like it's kind of like when he's burning these women, he's also making them confront their evil doing, as well as kind of purifying them. But at the same time, it's kind of him doing it to himself, because it's like, oh, like they're tapping into my weakness and stuff. I have to do this to be strong. This is the task that God's given me. It's like he's like really out there types of crazy. And it's like, that just kind of blew me out there, because like I said, because the fact is he was a blacklister and everything, I thought legitimately he was like some top-notch like criminal. But it seems like the reason why Red wanted this whole situation happening was because he needed Earl Fagin to be kind of brought into the loop, played by C. Thomas Howell, which like been seeing you pop up in a lot of stuff lately, dude. That's awesome. But basically he's a what was it? Was he a firefighter or a fire inspector, fire marshal? He's like someone who investigates and deals with, like, tries to understand fires and stop them and stuff like that. I don't remember what his position was exactly, but basically it turns out he was the one actually starting the fires. He even admits like, oh yeah, I kind of got a little arousal from it, but it also brought him a little bit of calm. But like I said, this the Cook's situation was, like I said, it was more so like self-hatred at himself for feeling the way he does, because of the whole repressed nature of being a priest and everything, the vow of celibacy and stuff like that. Not abstinence. What is celibacy? Celibacy is sex until you're married. Abstinence is no sex whatsoever. That's what I'm trying to get that correct in my head. But ultimately, the Cook ended up killing himself. I guess almost like a way of being like, okay, like this is his way of kind of making up for his sins and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like it's necessarily, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it didn't seem like more so like, oh, for the people I've killed is for, oh, more so my impure thoughts and stuff like that. It seems like that was like the greater evil in this situation, because he was always kind of disturbed, and the guy that knew about it, heard his confessions about this, never told anyone, and just stripped him of his title and just left him with his own delusions. It's like, because of you, a lot of people got killed because of this, because there's at least like 7 people that, like, at least the task force ended up finding out about him being dead. In particular, Haram did find out. I also love the fact is that when Haram ended up tracking the Cook's identity down and everything, and Sabara was like, oh, you're so cute. Isn't he so cute? And Harold's just like, yeah, adorable. Really quickly too about Fagan's like whole parole hearing thing at the end of the episode. I thought it was kind of an interesting thing that basically took wrestlers like recent experience and not just his well, I think it's a combination of his recent experience plus everything that's happened over the course of the show that it's like, oh, does Fagan deserve the kind of like how does he feel about it? And it's like even he's like, well, that's not my up to me to judge, but he's like basically he doesn't see things as clear cut as he used to. Like there's things aren't as black as white as black and white or as like good and evil because it's like because as over the course of time things aren't just one way, it's just as he's seen that there's been good that's come about working with bad people. And it's like, well, maybe he served his time at this point and, because it was like 11 years out of 14 that he ended up serving or whatever. Because even wrestlers like, oh, I think people should get a second chance. And I guess that's just because of all the evil that he did and he kind of got away with. And at the same time, it's like he still has to deal with that and live with that. So I think all that experience kind of led to him kind of thinking the way that he did. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing, kind of adding wrestler in and making his testimony kind of probably being like a bigger push. It probably wasn't all there was to the deciding factor of letting him get parole, but it probably played a big role. But it seems like he plays some part in what Reddington needs him for. The fact is he's an arsonist. He's like, while you're in my employ, do not make any fires unless I tell you to. So part of me thinks maybe this has something to do with the body. It's like, well, the fact of the matter is he's very good with fire, so he'll understand how to make something burn and make it so that there's no trace of it. So maybe that has to deal with it. Or maybe there's something else that Reddington wants him burned. I don't know. I mean, kind of this gives me kind of a segue into the rest of the episode, where we have Liz from the very beginning. She's looking more and more into this situation, asking Red, like, do you have any idea what Tom was up to? Which Red's kind of like, I can't say for sure. I can't say, which Liz later on kind of turns against him. But I love the whole aspect of like Red still being like not really big into technology and stuff like that. Because of like, Liz is like, because Liz asked him to give, like, there's these spiders that Liz was supposed to give as a gift to someone's mom. Because like his mom isn't a big fan of someone that can help out with the whole Navarro's eye situation, that glass eye that was. And like Liz didn't really want to do it, and even to the point she didn't actually drop them off herself. She just left them. It's like, what did you want me to do? I love the folklore he brought up, because it's like in Japanese culture, it's like they're called Juro spiders. I think that's what they were called. But basically, there's like a folklore about them disguising themselves as beautiful women, which I've seen that pop up in different things. I think like a lot of anime and manga, I think I've seen that pop up, which I feel like I've seen it in stuff outside of Japan as well, which kind of makes me go, I guess Japan was kind of like the focal point, because a lot of times you see spiders, they typically disguise themselves as beautiful women. So I'm like, is that all like diverging from the Japanese like folklore? Is that where it originally started? Or do all these different groups have their own folklore about that, but it all trickled down from Japanese culture? Did it exist before even Japanese culture? It was just kind of an interesting thing. But they ended up meeting the person that's helping Reddington out, and it's Tadashi, a 15-year-old. It's like that's just a kid. It's like, well, this kid turned down a scholarship at Harvard. He even turned down a job at Face whatever. And then like Liz is like, Face whatever. She's like, oh, how could you not know? And he's like, the fact of the matter, Reddington's like, I don't know tech stuff, but the fact of the matter is that's why I surround myself with people who do understand that. I also love the fact is he's like, I never got this whole Star Wars thing. And they like people making Star Wars references. Even Tadashi's like, let the Force be with you. He's just like, I don't know what that means. He's looking at the poster. He's like, I don't get it. What's up with this little green guy? Like, he can't be that effective in battle. And it's like this dude in a like fursuit, kind of referencing Chewbacca. And I was like, I love that you're so out of the loop, and you're just kind of like, it's like he's not saying this, but it's almost like he's saying this. Like anytime that comes up, it's almost like nerd, just because, like his reaction to it. But it's not like that. It's just because to him, it's just pop culture in general. You don't even have to be a nerd to know something about Star Wars. I'm a nerdy dude, and even I know very little about Star Wars. So but I'm sure there's even people who are not really into a lot of pop culture stuff who still know general stuff about Star Wars that even like Reddy's is like, what? I don't get it. What are you talking about? But I even love the whole situation with him and Tadashi's mom. And she's like, you. And it's like, you're corrupting my son, making him a criminal. And even she's almost like, oh, you're doing this and that. She's like, basically like, I disown you. And he's like, she could basically go, oh, you don't like the spiders? It's like, oh, you gave me 4 spiders, which is another thing in Japanese culture, because apparently it's super bad luck, which, interestingly enough, I only knew that because of the game Star Ocean Till the End of Time. That was like my first experience, because it was kind of a little bit of dialogue. I think it was between Fate and Sophie, or was it Sophia? I don't remember. Basically, it was a comment like, "Oh, some cultures don't use the number 4," which does beg the question: like, does every culture have their own like unlucky or scary number? Like, won't see it's like a North American thing. I feel like it's associated heavily with North America because the whole Friday the 13th thing. But I don't know. That might be more international than I give it credit for. It might have sparked in Europe initially, but like 13 is considered an unlucky number in certain cultures. It's not like a widespread thing here in the US, but I feel like it's a well enough known superstition that I kind of associate it with North America. But like I said, maybe it might have originally in Europe, but it's like, why in particular Japan? I mean, it might even just be Japan. Like they say Japanese, but I feel like because originally I thought that was a Chinese thing too, like the number 4 being unlucky. I don't know if that's just kind of an Asian culture thing all across the board, but I don't know. In this particular case, they made it seem like it was just a Japanese thing, but nevertheless, but Reddington doing everything he can to try and make Tadashi's mom happy. And even when the bad guys were showing up, it's like, you need to get out of here, they'll kill you. And she's like, I might as well just die then, just because it's like, it'd be much better than living with all this, essentially her son being a criminal he is. And it's just like, I don't even want to live anymore. It's just like being super over dramatic. And then later on, Reddington's trying to do everything. It's like, oh, you stay here as long as you want to until we can make sure that your house is safe and everything. It's like, oh, he get you this, and that. And then she's just not responding. And Reddington's like, okay. And he tells Tadashi, he's like, your mom scares me a little bit. It's like, do you think she would like a foot massage or something? And then Tadashi just puts his headphones on, just kind of ignore Reddington. So I just love that interaction between them. But ultimately, I just kind of want to get the more silly stuff out of the way so we can talk about the more serious stuff. And that being the fact is, even Liz was like, yeah, something's up with this situation. The fact is, the way you responded and everything, you know more about this than you're letting on. And Reddington kind of didn't know what to really say, because it's like, Tom kept secrets, but we made the promise not to keep any secrets. And it's just like, I'm going as far as murdering someone, that being Navarro, trying to uncover what Tom's secret is. And I get the feeling it's got to be connected to you, because I'm not stupid enough to believe that you don't have secrets, because like all you've ever done in the time I've known you is keep secrets. But Reddington doesn't say anything, and she's like, thank you. He's like, thank you for what? She's like, the fact of the matter is you didn't try Jedi mind trick. It's like, I don't get what that means. It's like, yeah, you don't, but you're so good at it. Because like, Reddington always squirms his way around telling the truth. In this particular case, he didn't. Because even, you could tell from the beginning when she started asking questions, you can see the look on Denbei's face when he's kind of looking at Reddington. He didn't say anything, but later on he does. It's because like, she knows something's not right. She's starting to distrust you. It's like, yeah, you're both after the same person, but for different reasons. She wants revenge for Tom, as well as finding out why he died. And Reddington wants the bones back. So, but what took me complete by surprise was the fact is he told her. I thought Liz was going to have to find out on her own, because I was like, with each episode, I was like, she's going to find out the truth sooner or later. Reddington is going to be worse when she finds out. But it's like, no, things actually ended up slightly better than I thought they would, because she's willing to work with Reddington until they find out the truth. But even she's like, the fact is that it's like, because even Renton's like, I warned Tom not to look any deeper, but he did. And it's kind of like, that's what got him almost placing the blame on him. But even Renton understands that the reason why he did that was because he was trying to protect Liz. He wanted the truth to come out, like, about the whole situation, whatever it is that Reddington's keeping hidden from her. But he told her everything. It's like, this item was left by Mr. Kaplan. And basically, she wanted it exposed, and Tom was going to basically help her do it. And it's like, what is this item? He's like, I can't say. And she's like, with everything that's going on, you're not going to tell me. And it's like, he's like, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to manipulate you or trying to keep, like, I'm trying to be clever or anything with this situation. I can't tell you because ultimately I don't want to tell you. He's like, it's a secret that I want to keep, that I don't want anyone to know, especially you. Which is like, whoa, that's super. Like, you've never heard Reddington be that forefront. Like I said, especially with something this huge, whatever it is, that he's willing to go this far, because he doesn't, even under these circumstances, he doesn't want Liz to find out no matter what. What is so scary that all of this, that's what this is all about, that Reddington is going through so much for this secret, that he doesn't even want Liz to know that Tom died for this secret. What is this huge secret, And even Liz herself is kind of like, I'm going to figure this out, like whatever it is, because Tom wanted me to know, so I'm going to find out what it is. And because the crazy thing is that Tom kept this secret from her because he had a feeling that if Liz got the secret, what would she do is she'd bring it to Reddington. And ultimately what matters comes down to is, what is it? Like, did Liz have a sibling or something? Like, what is it that's so bad that Kaplan is like, it has to be brought to the surface? Like, because the fact is, Ian knows whatever it is because they left a message for him, like, I know the truth. And you see that look, like, I don't know, like, you don't always see Reddington kind of off guard, but you see him kind of looking at that, like, this really caught him off guard. He doesn't want this out, whatever this really is. So, like I said, I feel like that's what Earl Fagin's whole situation is about. Like, whatever it's happening with this whole scenario, he needs him on the back burner to, no pun intended with the whole him setting fires things. Like, it might be connected to that. He needs something to go away. That he needs something in particular to be burned away while he's keeping, like, Fagin kind of nearby, like, why he needed him released and everything. So he also talked about the fact is that it's like, oh yeah, like, that basically he helped Red with a fire in the past or something like that. Which, let's not forget about, like, the day that Liz's house burned down. So maybe this is connected to that too. Maybe it's about, like I said, because there's still that aspect of, like I said, I'm still confused about that aspect of, like, her whole memory situation. Like, was it implanted memories, or was the memories that were taken from her when she was younger about the whole, like, oh, she thought she shot her dad, the house being on fire and everything, hence, like, the scars on Reddington's back and everything. So he, like, maybe, like, Red was trying to get them out of the house in time, in particular Liz, and then someone showed up in time, like, while the house was kind of being burned, and they kind of got stuck in there longer than they needed to be. So the question is, like, whose bones are they? Are they, like, her real dad's bones, and he's not really her dad, but he always thought of Liz as his daughter? Like, so many questions with all that. But then it's like, well, what about the blood work? Well, maybe, well, I mean, because the blood work showed that there was a familial match, but maybe it's like, maybe that's not necessarily the case of, like, oh, I'm your dad. Maybe it's like Reddington is actually her uncle or something like that. I mean, I doubt that's the case, but just kind of still throwing it out there anyway. What are the secrets of these bones? I'm so interested in finding out, especially because we'll most likely end up finding out the truth the moment Liz finds out the truth. So we'll just go ahead and see. Like, overall, like, a great episode. Just kind of like a villain that was kind of brought to the surface and kind of taken over. Like I said, it wasn't a blacklister, I really thought. Like, cause it was kind of more of a means of an ends to get to Earl, but still, like, it was kind of, I liked the approach and just kind of the craziness behind this blacklister's reasoning for doing what they did. I mean, a lot of blacklisters in the past have kind of had their own reasoning for doing what they've done, but also everything that, kind of got dropped in this case. I mean, in this episode. I'm also curious what we cross paths with Tadashi going forward. I mean, he's kind of like a tech dude that's in Reddington service, which makes you wonder, like, how did that whole situation come about? And will we get more interactions between Red and Tadashi's mom? I hope so. Just her just being, that look of disapproval on her face. So, I don't know. We just kind of have to wait and see. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good